Welcome everyone to Diets Demystified, how to nourish your body, mind, and spirit for an amazing you at every age. I'm so excited to be here today with our special guest. Our special guest today is my friend, Lisa Medley. Lisa is the founder of Solistic Arts, and she serves as a body relationship and sustainable well-being mentor. She's helped clients who are tired of living in survival mode or so-so mode, and is really ready to reclaim their birthright and thrive. Lisa is a visionary, an innovator, and a thought leader in the area of physio-spirituality. She has over 20 years experience in the healing arts in different areas, from wellness coaching, certified massage therapist. She has a master's in expressive therapy. She's a holistic health consultant, a dance facilitator, a conscious movement facilitator, and she's always studying energy medicine, somatics, and spirituality. Lisa is not one to tolerate mediocrity in her life, and so she has created a lifestyle to support and sustain her best or better version of herself. And as the creator of many body-centered programs, she helps her clients feel comfortable in their own skin. Her core program is called Beloved Your Body and empowers clients to cultivate a positive relationship with their body to integrate and sustain a well-being lifestyle with ease and with grace. Lisa believes truly that as we create more love in the body, we create more love in the world. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. With what you do something very unique in the field of wellness. Most of us, when we think the topic that we're talking about today, diet demystified, we think just about food. But you found a way to help your clients nourish their body in a very different way. Can you expand on that for me, please?
Sure. Thank you. And I also want to speak to, and this may come through other experts on this series, is, just the word diet. I personally don't use that word like in my work, or it's like if that word comes up, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, let's demystify it, right?
Exactly.
So if it hasn't been spoken already, or perhaps this will just be a reinforcement that it comes from a Greek word. I mean, there's Greek and Latin and other perspectives around it, but one of them is a Greek word of dieta, or I'm not sure exactly how to say that, phonetically, but it's basically a manner of living and, a way of life. And that was the original word. And words are really powerful because we know when we hear diet or diets, which is why this series is so powerful to demystify and debunk some very limited thinking about it, is that, it has an energy to it. And I know for me, like in my body, and what I'll expand on, kind of my approach to that is just listening to your body. And that word is like, ugh, like it feels heavy and shoulds, and I don't tell me what to do. So my approach is really that connection to body wisdom. So I really specialize in body wisdom and body intelligence and body relationship, mentorship and expertise, and really helping people to return to their instincts. And when it comes to nourishing ourselves, we really, if we just go back to literally like day 0 or day 1 when we came into the world, we were so in touch with our instincts. We vocalized, right? We cried, or we made noises, or, we couldn't talk the English language yet. And we knew what we needed. I mean, it was sometimes a process with our caregivers of like, do you need food? Do you need to be changed? Do you want to be picked up? Do you want to be held down? I'm a mom of a now 11-year-old. So I remember that time of like, just tell me what you need. And yet the needs were being communicated, right? Like my son's body and my body, although I don't remember it, and yours and those of you listening, the instincts are always there of like, what's going to feel good? And that's really the simple version of what I teach people is, how are you feeling and what do you need? How are you feeling and what do you need? And I think of it as like a volume dial. You know, we live in a culture, unfortunately, although the good news is it can be transformed, but unfortunately we've been conditioned to have the volume turned down very low, like after, you know, our early years, and depending on how those early years went, right? There's a lot of variations of that initial upbringing for people and those patterns that we learn. And at a certain point, you know, the culture gets so loud that that volume and our intuition and our instincts and just trusting ourselves gets quiet. It gets so quiet. And we're not supported in a culture that's like, well, what do you feel in your body? Like, those conversations just don't exist yet. And that's part of just teaching people how to turn up that volume, and just without apology, without justification, without people pleasing, just what are you feeling? And then when it comes to, you know, diet, whether it, you know, whatever you're nourishing yourself with or not, how does it feel? How does it feel? And, you know, personally, like, I'm not a vegetarian, like some people make that assumption because I'm in, like, you know, this world. And I know, and my body knows, it's like, it's just not going to work for me. It's an instinct. I trust it. I can feel it. And that can help simplify the overwhelm, right? Because, I mean, I'm sure as you're having more of these interviews and you talk to other people, and why this is such an important topic, it can get so overwhelming. Do I eat eggs? Do I not eat eggs? Do I take this vitamin? Do I not? And when you stay in your head about it, you're going to get a headache. And you're going to say just what's right for me. And guess what? If you just take a breath and drop down into your body, and it's a practice, and just start turning up that volume, or just even to know that there's another place to go to within your being that will give you more guidance and wisdom and information as to, well, what feels right to you? Or experiment. If you're not sure, you try this approach to eating, or you try this food. How do you feel after? Does it energize you? Does it, like, you know, bring you sky high and then you crash later? And just to have that body awareness, and that it's here supporting you. So that's part of the approach that I'm using, and that really just makes it easier.
Based on what you just said, it sounds a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, like it kind of meditating, but more, so it's a bit like meditating, but it is really more about what you've got going on inside you, your body, your feelings. Where I always think of meditating is to kind of go outside of your body. This seems to me to be more going inside your body.
Yes, it's a very inside out. And really, I mean, that's why I'm just so grateful to have an opportunity to share this perspective. I mean, there's lots of valuable perspectives out there, and we need all of it, right? We need different approaches. We need different nutritional styles. I mean, there's definitely a place for a lot of that. And ultimately, you get to decide in your body that, like, what I like to call body mindfulness, right? I mean, our body and our mind are really the same thing. You know, our body is our subconscious mind. You know, we have our conscious thoughts, but it's all working together, that interconnection. And that the information is there. And, you know, part of what I teach people is just how to, like, acknowledge that that actually exists, and then also teach some skills, some really simple skills of how do I tune into that? Like, and it really, again, to make it really simple, how do you feel? Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel like a yes? Does it feel no? Do you like lean towards that, or do you, shrink away from that? You know, the majority of communication is nonverbal, and sometimes our body, our instincts, the intelligence that exists before our brain actually has engaged will give us the response before our brain is actually processing that thought. So, I mean, that's a complicated way of explaining. How does it feel? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
It's pretty easy. How do you feel? How does it feel? So when we talk body wisdom, it's not something that is in, I think, on most people's everyday terminology. It's not in our daily language. How do we change that? How do we bring body wisdom and its definition and its meaning, not so much the definition, but like the overall meaning, how do we bring that into our lives?
Yes. Well, give me my own TV show. So this is a start. Well, one way to think about it is, I was reflecting on this earlier about first and foremost honoring that we're multidimensional, right? We have, even, we talk about body, mind, spirit, in this conversation. We also have an emotional dimension. And in my world, we have like a soul dimension, your higher self, your essence, whatever that means to you. And so to, framework it as we are multidimensional and we have different intelligences, right? And there's more, we've been sensitized or the hyper focus on our mental intelligence. Mm-hmm. We got that handled. More than optimal, really.
Right.
And that's really what's been valued. So, if you're like someone that just like lives in your head a lot, or you have a hard time relaxing, or if you're like, what is she talking about, tuning in and dropping down? Like, no shame, no judgment. We're just not supported. We just don't know how to do it. And that we have, recognizing there's, a mental intelligence. There's been more, in the more recent years, emotional intelligence. There's books about that. There's more conversations about that, thankfully. Spiritual intelligence, perhaps you don't hear those two words together, yet, spirituality is a place where you go to cultivate that, again, whatever that means for you. And our body also has intelligence and wisdom. And so that's one way just to, who am I? I'm multidimensional, and do I have access to all these dimensions of who I am to inform me? And I think that's part of just how we can start to recognize that we have a body that has intelligence. And, the other part of, why that disconnect and why it's just not part of the everyday conversation yet is that we have been conditioned to, again, value, from here up for hundreds and thousands of years. Even if you just go back to the Industrial Revolution, which is a couple hundred years ago, and there's been programming way before that to shut us down, to suppress this. But if we just even look at that, there's that perspective of, just picture yourself in front of an assembly line. And you go into this factory and, you clock in, you clock out. So already you're not in touch with your rhythms, your instincts. You're going by the clock, right? And then you do the same thing over and over and over again, and you're standing, and maybe you get a break, and maybe you don't, and like just that linear, repetitive focus on production, like if you're sitting still and you're like, I should be doing something, or you value your self-worth based on how much you get done. That's a couple hundred years ago. Like that's relative to the expanse of time, that's not even that long ago, but we weren't even around. Our parents weren't even around, and yet that conditioning is so deep. And I'm just sharing this kind of big picture because from the bottom of my heart, with just so much compassion, like let yourself off the hook, or at least just become aware that it's in the air we breathe. It's in the water we drink. We've been all drinking this Kool-Aid for hundreds and thousands of years without our permission. Like we've inherited a lot of this. What's that?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, people.
That's right. Yeah, so a lot of it's just like snapping out of the trance, or even just naming that we are in a trance. Mm-hmm. And that it's not all or nothing, good or bad. Like the Industrial Revolution brought us lots of amazing things, and it's still going, right? In our medical world, there's so much. And again, in the day-to-day life, as women, when we make choices, we make a lot of choices around like health and wellness for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones. It comes down to a moment-by-moment choice. And does this feel good or not feel good? Or is this, in my best interest or not? And, if you emotionally eat, then you emotionally eat, but at least like you have that awareness about it, and you can do something different. But don't beat yourself up anymore about that disconnect, because it's really, really deep-seated, and it can be transformed for sure. But awareness is the first step.
When I think of body awareness and body wisdom, the first thing, of course, that comes to my mind is, kind of aches and pains. You're aware of that. You're only aware that something's wrong when something starts to hurt. And that's a physical thing, but there's so much more. How does somebody know that they're not in touch with their body wisdom if it's beyond, a physical pain?
Yeah, that's a great question. One simple way I like to think about this and to offer a just simple awareness is like a closed fist or an open palm. So and if you, as you're listening, want to do this,
I will do this with you.
That your body, so you can this is like tension, tension, stress, which has a place. If you're driving down the highway and somebody's about to veer into your lane and you go like this, it's a good thing we have this. And then we need to recover, and we need to just, okay, I'm fine. Like, okay, the car is gone, all is well. So as far as like your body awareness, if there's not aches or pains or just how to get in touch with that, you can just tune in, like, how tense do you feel or how relaxed do you feel? Or if you're not even sure, you can just tense everything up and then relax everything. And then you'll start to feel like there's a continuum, right? And then there might be some parts of our body that are more stressed. I mean, this is a very common, it's a massage therapist and a body worker. Where's your tension? Up here, like 90% of the time. Maybe some low back, maybe some hips. But, of course, because we're living from our head up, we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. So there might be parts of your body that are more like a fist, and yet just kind of playing with getting that awareness. And again, it's not bad or good, right or wrong. It's just the reality is when we have those aches and pains, when we actually start to hear them, depending on who you are, I'm more sensitive, so I hear them pretty quickly, that there's actually been some pre-pain signals before that. Like, so if you think of it as like a tip of an iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is when the 2x4 or the 4x8 is knocking us over the head, right? Or we have ended up in the hospital, or we're in some kind of dis-ease process, unfortunately. But the reality is we don't have to wait for that at all. And part of just starting to connect is, am I in stress, or am I in relaxation, or am I in tension, or am I just able to like let things go? And that's a practice. That's where the body-mind or body-mind conversation of just, that's our physiology, of just starting to get in touch with when are we in the stress response, and then when can we let go? And the reality is we need to practice this, the exhale. And it's a practice that, that we have to do, and especially in our culture when everything is so fast and furious, that it is a practice. And you're not lazy or selfish for doing that, because it's critical. Like, it's really critical to save your life, your quality of your life, potentially the quantity of your life, just for, energy conservation and renewal. But that's one place just to start, is just to become that aware, and without judging yourself. The awareness is power. When you just give that little space of just becoming aware, where am I? Just without beating yourself up about it, and you can get to another level of like, okay, do I like this? Does it feel good to have my shoulders up around my neck, or would I like something different?
When you mentioned about the tensing and releasing, one of the things that I know I struggle with, I carry my tension here. I clench my teeth. And so I get tension headaches a lot. And it could be a Saturday and I'm not really doing anything in particular. I may not be working, but that's where I don't know why. It's that one of those things where it's so ingrained in me, sitting at a computer, working hard, all of the things that I've done in the past, work related, that's where I guess carry my stress. And then what happens, of course, I start to get the headache, and that's when I know that I've been clenching my teeth. So when you talk about the kind of the pre-pain is I'm clenching my teeth. The pain is I now have a headache. But they're very physical feelings. So I completely, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I understand that. And kind of my next thought was when you're talking about this and not feeling guilty in stepping back. One of the buzzwords, of course, in our world is self-care. So what I'm thinking is body wisdom is that first step to self-care, or are they interrelated?
Yeah, definitely interrelated. I would say that, well, I'm just inspired to kind of debunk like selfish, because that's part of that, like self-care, selfish, sometimes they're deemed as opposite.
Debunk away.
Okay, I love debunking. So, I don't know, a few years ago, as I mentioned earlier, like words are powerful. And so when there's like a word in the language, or like, even diet, just like, that doesn't feel good to me. So like, let's just dig what that is. It's, a manner of living. Okay. Nourishing ourselves. Okay. So with selfish, I looked that word up because I would say more people than not have kind of maybe a more negative connotation to it. I mean, it's starting to change. Thank goodness self-care is actually a buzzword. Yes. Like it's on the table. Like it's getting less guilt-ridden, which is really, really important. And so selfish, I looked it up, and I looked up the suffix ish, I-S-H. And that essentially means relating to. Like, like the color wall behind me, well, it's actually blue, purple, but it's bluish, right? It's not exactly blue. It's not exactly purple. It's like bluish, purplish-ish. Gotcha. It's like relating to, right? It's not blue. It's not purple. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So relating to yourself is not a good thing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And again, it's part of that conditioning. It's part of like, no, just produce, push forward, sleep when you're dead. It's all part of that, like we get badges of honor for how sleep deprived we are, or, and that, that connection is just so strong. So within that conversation of self-care, it can look a lot of different ways. And, as I, this body, mind, spirit conversation, that we're multidimensional, we need to tend to the multidimension aspects of ourself. And then we have more to offer in the dimensions outside of ourself, right? Our relationships, our work, whether they're paid or not paid, the environment, our finances, other dimensions. But we need this filled up to be able to offer on a regular basis, hence sustainability. So the body wisdom piece is the permission. I would say part of it is tending to that dimension of who we are. And sometimes your body might say, go talk to a friend, meaning like having that social component, like you got to vent. You got to vent, and you just need that girlfriend on the other end of the phone who will just like listen to you and not judge you and not try to fix you. because it's an emotional, release and venting and clearing just some energy, which is just as important. But that wisdom is like the permission. And, just last week I was just having this like low energy day, and I had to go back to bed. I was like, the day that I had intended, I'm like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then I know what I need, and I need more rest. I mean, I could struggle and push through, but it was like creative work, and I'm like, that's just not going to be a good thing. Yeah. And so I went back to bed, and then I took a walk, and I was just relaying to my friend, that I did this, and, I feel better. And she's like, that's so good that you give yourself permission for that. And I was like, my body is the permission. So if there's one thing you can take away today, I mean, not that we're quite at the end, but like that, that knowledge and knowing is, and releasing yourself from the guilt and shame or selfishness or laziness or whatever it's just learned behavior. It's not normal to do a disservice to yourself. That however you're experiencing your energy, what your body is telling you, if your energy is high, low, if you're contracted, if you're stressed out, if you're depleted, if you're exhausted, if you're pissed off, if you just want to cry, or if you're joyful and you want to express that. But if there's like a need that you have, that's all the permission you need. That's it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I definitely understand how people don't allow themselves that body permission. Because like you said, there's so many other things that we're supposed to do. You're supposed to do this and you have to do this and blah, blah, blah. But if your body is telling you, maybe this isn't the time, then it's not the time. And I think it's just, I think you're right. This is the takeaway. I mean, you've got given us such great information, but this I think really is the big takeaway, is your body really is, if it's telling you something, it's smarter than you are. And to listen to it and give yourself that space, and not permission. I don't know if the word, I hate to say the word permission, because that's kind of like, mommy, can I do this? But to feel self-confident that you're doing the right thing for you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, permission is sometimes one of those buzzwords too, or there's like this feeling of like waiting for permission or waiting for something, some external direction, like, okay, you may now take a day off, or you may now have a vacation, or, actually go use that massage gift certificate that's been in your drawer for 5 months, whatever that, like, waiting for is. I know you out there.
We have one of those. Mark has one of them.
Yeah. Get them out, take them out of the drawer, go use them, or gift them at least. And yes, it is about confidence. It's about self-reliance. It's about just knowing that you know what you need. And what I also do want to offer is that two other, pieces about that, like confidence, or when you get in touch with, well, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need, that one, sometimes you need to negotiate with the outside world, right? As I mentioned earlier, I'm a mom, and sometimes, I can tend to my son's needs and then mine, and sometimes mine need to come first, depending on what it is, right? I mean, I'm talking a whole range here, right? And that, sometimes if you have an obligation, or you have, an important meeting or something, and you are like low energy, but you don't want to cancel it, you can negotiate with yourself, like, okay, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to proactively cancel that appointment, or, take the next day off, or make sure I go to bed a little early, or, whatever. You can negotiate, because, I mean, like, this is real life. So sometimes you can take care of it right away. Sometimes you might need to pause and at least give your body a voice. At least give your wisdom a voice. At least, increase that confidence volume, right? As you said, that self-confidence volume to, like, well, this is what I need. And you may just need to take care of it later, and yet you can at least know that you have a need and it does need to be met, and you will feel better for it. And the other piece that I wanted to say is sometimes I have this conversation with clients or in, speaking groups. They're like, well, my body's telling me that I want chocolate cake, or, I'm just using that as an example, or whatever, 5 bottles of Cabernet, or whatever. And none of that's wrong, not wrong or bad, no judgment. And then it's really, is that like, what voice is that? Like, is that really, is it nourishing you or is it numbing you? Mm-hmm. And there's a time and a place for both of that also. We always are just doing the best that we can. And if that chocolate cake is just the best that you can do in that moment, have it, enjoy it, have it. And that need for, like, I want to feel better is sometimes a call that something needs to be nourished. And it might be chocolate cake. You might just want the pleasure of the chocolate, or maybe you're hormonal and you need some chocolate in you. Or it may be that you actually just need to get that massage, or you need a hug, or you need to vent, or something like that. So just, again, want to be real about what those needs are. And the more that you tune in and you trust, and without judgment and with a lot of compassion and kindness, just to investigate, what is this sensation that's coming up? What is this wisdom? What is it guiding me to? And be willing to explore it. You'll get clearer with kindness.
I was going to ask you, what are what's the number one, thing that people can start to do? And you've already answered that, and you came up with 2 really amazing steps for people to kind of, one, give themselves the time and the space, and the forgiveness piece. And I think that in itself truly is that first step, is the awareness and giving yourself the space.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought up time, because we definitely live in a culture where it's like there's not enough time, and and then some perspectives, well, there is no time, so what are you worried about? And
it's all relative.
That it's all relative, right? And that, so to highlight that this doesn't take a lot of time, and it's a practice. If you're somebody that's way up here, or sometimes, with some of my more spiritually minded clients, they're up here. And again, spiritual, religious, non-religious, it's an inclusive definition, but there's some kind of out-of-body experience, because we haven't been supported to be here in a comfortable way, that it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just, okay, this is a way to think about it. It's like going to a foreign language class. So when you go to a foreign language class, I'm just going to talk gibberish here, but the first day, the teacher's up there and they're like, and they clearly said something, but you have no idea what it is. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's your first day, so cut yourself some slack. Mm-hmm. But you go back to the class, and sooner or later, you're like, oh, that sound means this, just like when we were little and we were learning English, and we would, parrot, whoever was talking to us, and apple, 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 apple. Same thing. And so will it take some attention and awareness and some effort? Yeah, but it won't take a long time. And again, the instincts are already there. And it really comes down to, honestly, and I say this with fierce love, how good do you want to feel? And how comfortable in your own skin do you want to be? Mm-hmm. And some of that process is going to be uncomfortable, because you're going to be learning a new language, or you're going to feel your tension before you get the headache, or you're going to feel the contractions, or you're going to feel the places that need healing. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do it in isolation, and you can just do little bits at a time. And the first thing is just to even become aware that you have a body, and that it is intelligent, and that it is wise, and that simply it will guide you home to your best self with whatever you need to be nourished with, whatever diet, whatever nourishment that is optimal for you, because we're bio-individuals, right? What you need and what I need is going to be different. Every day is different, depending on how much we did the day before and how much is coming up. Like that impacts us. We don't live in a vacuum, right? Everything's connected. Mm-hmm. So it's really gaining that, again, just to highlight your beautiful phrase of self-confidence, of just increasing more self-confidence of what is happening here, what is going on here, what is this, without judgment.
Without judgment. I love it. Lisa, thank you so much. You've given us so many great things to think about and to experience in our own bodies. Before we go, I know you have something that you'd like to share with our audience. You have a special gift.
Yes, thank you. So my website is soulisticarts.com. I'll spell it because it's a made-up word. So if you go to Soulistic Arts, that's SOULISTICARTS.com, soulisticarts.com, and then / and put LHL for Living Healthy List. I'd like to offer you what I call a body breakthrough bundle. And it's a couple of different tools. One's a guided relaxation, just to, if you're like, I don't know how to start getting in my body, or I will guide you through that. Just a short and sweet, it doesn't take long, and it's simpler than our mind might make it up to be. So there's that. There's an invitation to have a conversation with me if you like, no obligation conversation, but if you just want to kind of look at your relationship with your body and just kind of look at some of the different pieces that are strong, because I like to acknowledge what does work and what you are strong in, and then also maybe some gaps that you just may not know about. So we'll look at that and some other goodies. So feel free to visit that, and we can stay connected. And if you don't want to sign up for another list, which I totally get, you can always just email me at lisa@soulisticarts.com if you have a question, or just, I'd love to bring more awareness. So feel free just to be in touch.
Wonderful. And Lisa, we will have that information on the daily email for everybody.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all this great information and wisdom, body wisdom. And thank you all for joining us today. Lisa, again, thank you.
Thank you.